Welcome to Silent Secrets. In today's video, we're diving into a topic that every man thinks he understands, but very few truly do. Men, let's be honest. No matter how much time you've spent around women, they still have this remarkable ability to confuse you. One day everything feels perfect. She's warm, loving, and soft. The next day something changes. Her energy shifts. You're left wondering what just happened and what you possibly said wrong. Today, we're going deep into one of the most complex and fascinating aspects of relationships: the hidden emotional patterns that shape how women think, react, and connect. These are not flaws. These are not weaknesses to exploit. They are insights, powerful, often overlooked truths that reveal what drives women on an emotional level. We'll explore 7 hidden female weaknesses that every man must understand if he wants to build real connection, trust, and attraction that lasts. But before we go further, this video isn't about judging or generalizing women. This is about understanding, because when a man understands, he leads with clarity, not confusion. He communicates with patience, not frustration, and he builds peace instead of problems. Welcome back to Silent Secrets, the channel where we don't just talk about relationships, we analyze them. We look beneath the surface to understand the psychology behind love, attraction, and connection. If you've ever asked yourself, why do women act this way? Why do they test my patience? Why does she say one thing but feel another? Then this video will change how you see everything. You see, women aren't unpredictable by nature. They're simply wired to process emotion differently. Their minds are tuned to emotional energy. And when you understand that frequency, everything makes sense. So, stay until the end. Because once you see these 7 hidden emotional truths clearly, you'll never look at female behavior the same way again. But before we start, listen carefully. What you see here is just a small preview of a much deeper framework. If you want to truly master communication, emotional balance, and relationship confidence, go to www.stoicapproachtolife.com. The link is in the description. That's where real growth begins. Now, let's begin. Emotional sensitivity, the hidden language of connection. When it comes to understanding women, emotional sensitivity is the key that unlocks everything else. It's not weakness, it's emotional awareness. And it's the reason women can pick up on subtle shifts most men miss. A woman doesn't just hear your words, she feels your tone. She doesn't just see what you do, she senses the energy behind it. Many men misunderstand this and try to use logic in situations that demand empathy. But women live in a world where emotion is data, where feelings define experience. When she's upset, she doesn't necessarily want you to solve her problem. She wants you to understand her emotions about it. That difference defines emotional intelligence. A man who listens without judging, who comforts without trying to control, becomes someone she deeply trusts. Because emotional sensitivity, when met with calm, masculine presence, builds a bridge between logic and feeling. When you dismiss her emotions, she feels unseen. When you validate them, she feels safe. And safety is everything. Men often say, she's being dramatic, but most of the time, that's not drama. It's a cry for emotional acknowledgement. Learn this truth. Women feel to connect, while men think to solve. When you blend those two worlds, you stop reacting, and you start leading. A man who understands emotional sensitivity doesn't lose his strength. He enhances it. He becomes grounded enough to handle emotion without losing himself in it. That's real power, too. The need for attention, presence over perfection one. Of the greatest misunderstandings between men and women is the concept of attention. Most men think women crave attention because they want validation, but that's not the truth. For women, attention equals connection. It's not vanity. It's emotional visibility. When a man is fully present, truly present, she feels valued, seen, respected. When attention fades, she starts to feel invisible, and invisibility to a woman is emotional pain. Women express love through connection, through words, eye contact, tone, gestures, all forms of subtle emotional presence. That's why you can be sitting next to her. Yet make her feel completely alone if your mind is elsewhere. Attention is not about constant conversation. It's about energy. The awareness that she matters even when you're quiet. The reason this is so important is because emotional attention is the foundation of feminine trust. When a man gives consistent, balanced attention, neither overbearing nor distant, she naturally relaxes. Her walls drop, her warmth increases. Neglect that attention, and you'll notice the opposite. She'll start arguments not to fight, but to reconnect. Most of the time, she's not mad. She's just emotionally starved. So don't see attention as a chore. See it as leadership. Presence is the highest form of masculine energy, and because it shows emotional maturity, a woman who feels seen will never seek validation elsewhere. Attention isn't a luxury. It's the emotional oxygen of connection. Fear of rejection. The silent. Insecurity behind confidence, beauty, and independence. Most women carry one quiet fear: rejection. This isn't just the fear of being turned down. It's the fear of being emotionally unwanted. You see, when a woman loves, she doesn't love halfway. She invests deeply, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and with that investment comes vulnerability. When that vulnerability is dismissed, ignored, or devalued, it cuts deep. A man might see her withdrawal as coldness, but often it's protection. She's scared of giving more than she'll receive. What some men call neediness is often a plea for reassurance. Am I still valued? Am I still safe here? This fear shapes how she tests, how she communicates, and even how she argues. A woman who fears rejection doesn't want constant validation. She wants stability. The way to calm this fear isn't through empty words. It's through consistent behavior. Keep your promises. Show up when you say you will. Mean what you say. That's how she learns emotional safety. When she feels secure, her love becomes soft, generous, and peaceful. When she feels uncertain, she becomes anxious and defensive. Your steadiness eases her fears more than any reassurance ever could. Men who react with frustration, "You're overthinking," "Relax," "You're too emotional," only amplify that fear. True masculinity shows patience, because real strength isn't in overpowering emotions. It's in creating safety through calm consistency. A woman stops fearing rejection when she feels chosen every day, not through words, but through presence. Desire for security, emotional stability. Above all, every woman, no matter how strong or independent, desires security, but not the material kind, the emotional kind. It's the deep, inner assurance that the person she loves won't vanish when things get difficult. Security to her means stability, predictability, and peace. It's not about dominance or control. It's about trust. She's not looking for a man who's perfect. She's looking for a man who's reliable, a man whose words match his actions, a man who can handle chaos without becoming it. This desire for safety comes from both biology and psychology. For thousands of years, women have instinctively sought stability, emotionally and physically, as the foundation of survival. In modern relationships, that instinct still exists. It's why she values your direction, your discipline, and your self-control. These are signals of emotional grounding. When a man is inconsistent, unpredictable, or reactive, it triggers her insecurity. When he's calm, centered, and dependable, it triggers her trust. This is why emotional regulation is so powerful. A man who can remain composed when emotions rise becomes her anchor, her peace in a storm. Remember, a woman doesn't fall in love with how strong you are. She falls in love with how safe she feels with you. Safety allows her softness to emerge. Her affection, warmth, and support come naturally when she feels secure. So don't underestimate this. Security isn't bought, it's built. And it starts with integrity, consistency, and emotional strength. Emotional overthinking. The mind that never stops. Here's something most men misunderstand. When a woman overthinks, she's not trying to annoy you. She's trying to protect herself. Women process emotion differently. Their brains are wired to connect emotion with memory, which means they replay experiences to understand them. That's why a small change in tone, a delayed text, or a quiet mood from you can lead her to question everything. She's not paranoid. She's emotionally analyzing. Her overthinking is her way of seeking clarity when something feels off. A man's first instinct might be to say, "You're overreacting," but that only deepens her confusion. What she needs isn't logic, and it's reassurance. When you respond calmly, listen, and reassure her through presence, not lectures, she begins to feel grounded again. Here's the truth. Overthinking is emotional noise caused by uncertainty. The more consistent and emotionally transparent you are, the quieter her mind becomes. When she trusts your stability, she doesn't spiral into what-ifs. And if she's been hurt in the past, her mind may be conditioned to anticipate pain. The best thing you can do is rewrite that pattern through patience and reliability. Never mock her for overanalyzing. That's her caring deeply. She's thinking because she values the connection. Once she feels safe with your emotional steadiness, overthinking turns into trust, and that trust becomes peace. 6. The craving for validation. Emotional recognition validation. A word often misunderstood by men, yet essential for emotional harmony. Every human wants to feel valued, but for women, validation holds a special emotional meaning. It's not about ego. It's about recognition. When you notice her effort, her ideas, her presence, she feels appreciated. And appreciation fuels connection. Validation doesn't mean constant compliments. It means small, genuine acknowledgments that say, "I see you." A simple, "I'm proud of you," or "I love how you handled that," can mean more than any grand gesture. The absence of validation, however, creates emotional distance. She starts questioning her worth in the relationship, not because she's insecure, but because she interprets silence as indifference. Women thrive in emotional environments where they feel acknowledged. That's how their affection grows. Too much validation, though, creates dependency. The goal is balance, consistent appreciation without overindulgence. Validation is emotional maintenance. It keeps her trust alive and prevents her from feeling unseen. When she's quiet or distant, sometimes she's not angry. She's empty. Remind her she still matters. It costs nothing to say, "I value you." But the emotional return is immense. A woman who feels validated will give you loyalty, softness, and peace. A woman who doesn't will slowly detach, not from lack of love, but from lack of recognition. So, make her feel chosen not through big words, but through consistent appreciation. The struggle with accountability, emotion before logic. This one is tricky, but it's real. Accountability is one of the hardest emotional tests in relationships, for both men and women. Many women, when emotionally invested, find it hard to take responsibility immediately, not because they lack maturity, but because their emotions often speak louder than logic. When she feels hurt, her mind frames the situation through the lens of emotion. Logic comes later. So when you try to argue with pure facts during an emotional moment, it rarely works. She's not hearing your logic. She's feeling your tone. That's why escalation happens. Both sides defend their emotions instead of finding clarity. The secret is to lead calmly. When you listen first, validate her feelings, and let the emotion pass, she becomes open to reason. Accountability for women blossoms in emotional safety. When she feels attacked, she defends. When she feels understood, she reflects. A wise man leads by example. Admit your mistakes first. It lowers her defenses and invites her to do the same. Over time, this builds emotional maturity in the relationship. Both partners learn that accountability isn't about blame. It's about growth. A woman's pride, like a man's, can block reflection. But when she sees you lead with humility, she learns that vulnerability isn't weakness. It's strength. Real relationships thrive when both people can say, "You're right, I could have handled that better." Accountability, when handled with empathy, transforms tension into teamwork.